Welcome into the show tonight. I am Brian Keating, joined by special guest Andrew Schlecht from The Athletic and the Down to Dunk podcast. It is time for Crashing the Boards. Welcome back to Crash the Boards.
Hey, glad to be here.
If you're not following this guy, he is absolutely the best at the Oklahoma City Thunder. There's no doubt about it. So anytime we talk Thunder, we like to have you on. So let's get right to the game that happened on Friday night.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City were just awesome in the second half. Beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 112-100. I'll ask you first, just as you watch this team night to night and last night, and I know Donovan Mitchell didn't play, and that's obviously a big deal.
Sure.
But Cleveland's good. And defensively, they're really good, and OKC just took them apart in the second half.
Yeah, number one defense in the NBA. And the thing is that this team they play so differently than the Thunder. They like to play really slow, and the Thunder like to play fast. They have giant bigs down low in Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. The Thunder are a lot of times playing 6'6" Kenrich Williams at center. And Mark said before the game that there are things in his head that he thinks will not work with this team, but he wants to see it. And he says a lot of times it's not as bad as he thinks. And last night was one of those. In the fourth quarter, when they started their run, it was Kenrich Williams at the 5 with Jared Allen and Mobley in the game. And you think, okay, how long are they going to get away with this? And they went on a run during that portion of the game. And Kenrich, the first two possessions of that lineup, Kenrich had an offensive rebound and a defensive rebound. And you're just like, okay, they're going to not only are they going to survive this, they're going to thrive in these minutes. And like as Thunder fans, we saw the Warriors take apart the Thunder back in the day when the Thunder were giant and they went small. And so it was an interesting juxtaposition there for Thunder fans last night.
Yeah, I would say for me it was 9-4 in the month of January for Oklahoma City, and they have been really fun to watch, Andrew, because you can just see the growth and the maturation. And you're right, they play a lot of weird lineups, and Ousmane Dieng's healthy again, and they played so well without him, and they're throwing him back in. And it's still a rebuilding situation for OKC.
Yeah.
But it's fun. You can see the vision, and you can see it open up, and the young players developing, whether you're talking about, Jalen Williams or Josh Giddey or Isaiah Joe, who's a revelation.
He's good,
this team, you can see what Sam Presti wants to build, and the multiple passing, cutting, playmaking players all over the floor, and it is fun to watch them develop.
And they're really good. Something that stood out. So they've been good in January, but since December 15th, they're second in the NBA in net rating.
Wow.
21 games.
Wow.
So this is not insignificant.
No.
And so you stop to think, okay, they've been a good team for about a month and a half now. Like, how good can they be? And there are nights where you think, okay, maybe this is going to regress. I thought they would regress a little bit against Atlanta. They battled.
Yeah.
They were honestly like one semi-competent big man away from winning that game.
Clint Capella. Pretty good.
And then you think going into Friday, you're like, okay, even without Donovan Mitchell, this is going to be a tough one for them to overcome because they have two all-star caliber bigs. And because their defense has been top 5 during that stretch, and their offense is starting to creep up a little bit. I think they're 17th overall in the league this entire year, and they're a top 10 offense during that stretch too. I mean, they're playing a little over their heads, so there is a possible regression on the way. But everything begins and ends with Shai. He was unbelievable last night. You could see Josh Giddey trying to get into the teeth of the defense. He couldn't see a thing. You saw Jalen Williams trying to get into the teeth of the defense. Same thing. You see Shai, he finds seams that no one else sees. The minute that he finds a defender that he knows that he can cook, it's over. It's over.
And he's so long. That sets us up to right where I want to go. And I do want to talk about SGA. And he's going to be an all-star, and that's going to happen next week, and that's going to be announced. But what is his ceiling? I listened to one of your podcasts not too long ago, and you said this guy is a top 10 player in the world right now. What is his ceiling? What can he be for OKC?
This is an all-NBA caliber player.
Oh, yeah.
This year.
For sure. Yeah.
People are talking about him on the second team, which is top 10 player. It's not out of the question. I mean, he's only 24 years old. Like, all-NBA is in his future, could be in his near future. what you're writing could be on the horizon as well. He profiles. Go ahead and show him.
Okay, all right.
Go ahead and
you
show him.
teased it. He could be an MVP, man.
He profiles
He could be an MVP.
as a guy that could do that. Because who are the guys that are the MVPs? Well, largely it's guards, right? It's guys
And
that control the game. Yeah, if you're winning, and guys that can put up 30,
Yeah.
guys that are unstoppable.
Yeah.
He hits all of those marks. He has been as unstoppable as anybody. You plug all of his stats in today into StatHead, and there are two other players that come up. It's Michael Jordan and Dwayne Wade. Those are the only two players that pop up today
Wow.
when you plug in his points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. No other guard in the history of the NBA has done what he's doing today other than Dwayne Wade and Michael Jordan. It's pretty good company.
That's exceptional company. And you're right. I mean, I said MVP because I do think this Thunder squad and however they build it and with Shea, they're going to get to a level where they're competing for the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. And I don't have any idea if they'll get there.
Yeah.
But they're going to compete for that. And if you're going 31, 32 points a night, like you're going to be in the MVP race.
Yeah.
That's his ceiling. I mean, he could be a Hall of Famer. He could be an MVP guy. And he is sensational to watch. And he's so long and can weird angles and he's herky-jerky and his pace is remarkable. He's unlike really anybody else in the NBA, but he is spectacular. And the leap that he's taken this year has been fun to watch, without a doubt. And so that gets me to my last topic for you. Fun to watch. You go to all the Thunder games, watch them all. When you saddle up every night, and this could be a player, it could be anything.
Yeah.
What are you most excited to see every night the Thunder lace them up?
Honestly, it's this group of young guys where you don't know really who's going to pop from one night to the next. Like last night, I was really impressed with Aaron Wiggins.
Played great.
He was a guy who was selected in the second round. Really wasn't supposed to be here. Not supposed to be in the rotation. They're actually 8-0 when they start Aaron Wiggins, which is just like a funny stat. And you want to ask all the players and the coaches about it. It's largely like, what does it really mean? I think it does mean that he affects winning. Obviously, they're not going to win every game that he starts. But this is a player that you get at the end of the second round. He comes in, it's like, oh man, this guy can play. And then you have obviously Jalen Williams, J-Dub, the guard from Santa Clara. You have to do all the qualifiers when you talk about
No, I know. You're right.
He has really started to turn it on with his shooting. And that was the one kind of hole in his game. He dunks everything. He has the most dunks of any guard in the league this year. He has more dunks than John Morant.
That's hard to believe.
This year.
That's hard to believe.
Which is unbelievable. But he can handle. He's got a pull-up J that works almost every game. And then the three ball has started to fall a little bit. He hit 3 threes last night against the Cavs, or on Friday night against the Cavs. And if that starts to come together, they've got a bunch of guys. He and Josh Giddey and Shea, and then you have Chet coming next year. It's really the young guys that it's just exciting night to night. You just don't know who's going to pop, but you definitely want to watch who's out there.
Yeah, obviously it's Shea and Giddey or whatever, but I'm writing down Jalen Williams, and I don't even make this a qualifier. I sat here on a Sunday night about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I said, we got to stop pretending that the Jalen Williams are the same. There is not a J-Dub and a J-Will. There is a Jalen Williams, and he is the good one.
Yeah.
And no offense to Jalen Williams, Arkansas, but Jalen Williams, we all know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
That guy against Atlanta, the play where he gets the block, and then it was the pass out, and then the dunk. That's one of the most electric plays in Thunder history. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just, that's one of those plays that you go, whoa, this guy has arrived. And that's who I want to see pop every night. They got a lot of good young players, and they're all getting better. But when he does something, you stand up and you go, whoa.
Yeah.
There aren't a lot of dudes in the NBA that can do that, and that's fun.
Yeah, and then he picks Trae Young's pocket there at the end.
Yeah,
when you think that they don't have a prayer, and then he delivers another dunk at the other end. He is really fun. He's also really down to earth as like a person, and I think he's somebody that the Thunder fan base can kind of latch onto not only as a player, but as a person too. Like he just kind of fits this community so well.
Well, they're fun, and they're getting better. There's no doubt about it. Andrew Schlecht, we appreciate you being in from The Athletic and the Down to Dunk podcast. Check him out, I promise. Nobody better covering the Oklahoma City Thunder.